Hello everyone, my name is Cassandra Paz, and today we're going to talk about how to share the gospel effectively, using the example of Jesus' conversation with the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4. Through this story, we can learn how to break barriers, connect with others, and understand the importance of sharing the gospel. So evangelism starts with talking to people. It doesn't always have to be about the Bible right away. Jesus started a simple conversation with the Samaritan woman by asking her for a drink. He didn't dive into theology immediately, he just engaged with her. Similarly, we can start conversations about life and wait for the right moment to share our faith. As Esther 4:14 says, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" You never know if the person you're talking to is waiting for you to start the conversation. Sometimes we let cultural or social norms stop us from reaching others. Jesus didn't let those barriers stop him. He spoke to the Samaritan woman, even though Jews didn't normally interact with Samaritans. In that same way, we should ignore these barriers, whether it's race, background, or social status. 1 Timothy 2:9-10 tells us to focus on godliness, not outward appearances. We should invite everyone, regardless of their background. Evangelism is often best done one-on-one. So while big events can be helpful, Jesus reached people by having personal conversations with them. He spoke to the Samaritan woman individually and revealed important truths about God. In John chapter 4, verses 25-26, Jesus tells her, "I who speak to you am he," meaning he is the Messiah. One conversation can make a big impact, and we can follow Jesus' example by sharing the gospel personally. When you share the gospel with one person, it can lead to many more opportunities. After speaking with Jesus, the Samaritan woman went and told others about him. In John chapter 4, 28-30, she says, "Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" Her testimony brought others to Jesus. Just like her, we can help others by sharing our own story, and they might share it with others too. When we share the gospel, we must talk about sin, but also offer hope. Jesus pointed out the Samaritan woman's sin, how she had been married 5 times, but he didn't judge her. Instead, he offered her living water. We should also do the same for others. We talk about the problem of sin, but we should also share the good news that Jesus offers through forgiveness and a new life. Evangelism is a process. Sometimes we plant seeds of faith that others will water and grow. In John chapter 4, verse 37, Jesus says, "One sows and another reaps." Not everyone we talk to will immediately accept Jesus, and that's okay. Our job is to share the gospel and to trust that God will continue the work. We must be aware of the people around us and the opportunities to share the gospel. Jesus told his disciples in John chapter 4, verse 35, "Lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already ready for harvest." There are people all around us who need to hear the gospel. We just need to pay attention and be ready to share when God opens that door. So the gospel is also urgent. Jesus said the fields are ready for harvest. In other words, people need to hear the good news now. 2 Corinthians 6:2 reminds us, "Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." We don't know what tomorrow holds, so we must act today. The time to share the gospel is now. And sometimes sharing the gospel means we have to change our plans or priorities. Jesus stayed in Samaria for 2 extra days, even though it wasn't a part of his original journey, because he knew that the people needed to hear the gospel. Luke chapter 7, verse 34 shows us that he was willing to be inconvenienced for the sake of others. When we share the gospel, we may need to adjust our plans, but the results are always worth it. So finally, evangelism brings joy and fulfillment. Jesus said in John chapter 4, verse 32, "I have food to eat that you do not know about." Sharing the gospel gives us a deep sense of purpose and joy. There's nothing more fulfilling than seeing someone come to Christ, knowing that God used you to bring them to him. In conclusion, evangelism is about relationships, being aware of the opportunities around us, and acting with a sense of urgency. Just like Jesus did with the Samaritan woman, we can break barriers, speak truth, and offer hope. Let's be intentional in starting conversations, overcoming cultural barriers, and sharing the good news with those around us. The fields are ready for harvest, and now is the time to act. And with that, I invite you to prayerfully consider and ask the Lord to highlight those people in your life